Hey Scrappers, it's Vanessa here with a new process video, and today I am playing along with Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life and her 30 days of sketches. So the sketch came up in the video at the beginning and it will pop up here in a few seconds in the right corner of the screen. Now for my layout, I am using this pattern paper, which is an old one from a paper pad, and it was one of Dear Lizzie's old collections, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was from one of her collections, and it just has some almost like white splattered paint in the sort of the center of it. So I'm going to add my own additional white splatters to the page, as well as I'm just taking this cup from Starbucks and I'm using the top and bottom of it to create those circles that I've just taken and dipped in my white acrylic paint there that I watered down, and I use that to create those larger circles. I just wanted to have something in the background of this page, and that was sort of like the perfect element that I could just add a little bit of interest to the background. Now I'm also pulling out a very pale peach ink as well, or I should say paint, and I'm going to water it down as well and then just use it to splatter on my background. Now you don't really see this really well because it really blends into the background paper. When you look at the layout in person, you can kind of see those splatters, but again, a lot of this gets covered up with the papers and things that I put on the layout. So I'm really just doing this again to just add that little bit of interest, a little bit of texture from the paint in the background of this page. So everything I'm using for my page today is, I had put together page kits back at the beginning of the year and I had some left over, so I decided to go ahead and see if I could get them used up during this 30 days of sketches this month that Christy's putting on. And so that's what I'm kind of working through. So everything that I'm using in this kit is either scraps or 6x6 papers. And so they're all from a whole bunch of different collections. So there's definitely a good use of using my stash for basically everything that I'm doing for this month's 30 days of sketches. Now, while my background is drawing, I did decide that the sketch does have 2 tags, and I wanted to use some tags, but I wanted to add something to them. I didn't want to just have plain tags. So I decided to just have a little bit of fun with some ink and some Distress Oxide inks, as well as some Catherine Pooler and some stamps. And I'm just going to kind of distress and stamp on these tags just to add some interest. These get tucked in, and so you only really end up seeing like bits and pieces of this stamping, but I thought it was fun to, rather than just have these plain sort of manila colored tags going on the layout, that it might be kind of fun to just add a little bit of interest to them and make them not feel quite so flat. And so I'm just going to go ahead here. I pulled out not all, but quite a few of my Vicki Boutin stamp sets. And I'm just taking from a few of the sets some of these sort of background texture type stamps that she had in her different collections. And that's what I'm using to just decorate those tags. And then I'm going to splatter on some of my white paint, just again to add a little bit more dimension to the tags as well. The colors that I'm using, I believe, I know one is Sapphire, Stormy Sky, I think might be another one of them. I honestly can't remember. If you want to know the Distress Oxide ink colors that I used, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be sure to let you know what their names were, but they're there in the top, but they are kind of hard to read on camera. But needless to say, I just used 2 blue colors and 2 green colors. Kept it really, really simple. And of course, I have that peach color going in my background, so I'm definitely pulling in some greens and navies, as well as that peach color, as well as you'll see the other colors as we go that get pulled into this layout. Now, I wanted to go ahead and add a little bit more stamping for this page. And so again, I'm using those stamps from Vicki Boutin. And I am just taking a few of this little mushroom image and then a few of the sentiments, as well as I think I stamped some butterflies. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp these up in those same colors that you saw me use on the tag at the beginning. And I'm just going to stamp those up, and off camera I will go ahead and fussy cut all of these so that I can use them in my embellishment clusters on this page. Now, when I created the page kits, I didn't put any embellishments with them, and so this allowed me to, since I didn't have anything already pre-chosen that I was going to use, I pulled out my stamps and decided that that would be one of the main ways that, at least for this page kit, that I would go ahead and have something to create for embellishing this page. So that's what I'm doing here. And definitely all these leaves and sort of outdoor images definitely goes with the photo that I'm going to be scrapping, which you'll see here in just a sec. And so I'm now taking all of those these are all the leaves from each of the different stamp sets, and I'm just going to take these different color green inks that I have, and I'm just going to go ahead and stamp out several of these so that I can cut them out off camera and use them on my page. So I'm just picking and choosing which green to use for each of the leaves. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. I just want to have some variation in the color of greens that I'm using. Now, one thing I don't show on camera that I end up doing after I cut them out, I decided that I wanted to sort of have them not filled in with color, but I did go ahead, because most of this is, or everything that I'm stamping with, is ink that reacts with water. I did just go ahead and wet my paintbrush very, very lightly, and I just colored in the stamped images so that the color would bleed a little bit, just to give them a little bit of, not be quite so just white stamped background images. And so I did go ahead and do that off camera. And now that my background is dry and everything is fussy cut, I am going to work with the other pattern papers that I put in this kit, and I'm going to start with my photo here and just layer up a few of these scraps here behind my photo. And the photo that I'm scrapbooking today is a photo of my son, and he was standing on the bridge leading down a path that goes into a little wildlife preserve area that is not too far away from where we live. I had taken the kids here one day when I was off, and we went and, watched or walked around and looked at all the animals, and it was a really fun sort of afternoon that I spent with the kiddos. And so I am just scrapping this picture. He stopped on the bridge, and I snapped this cute picture of him while he was sort of just looking down there's water down below, and so he was just kind of looking down at the water, or at me and then at the water. And so that is the photo. And I basically just took, once I matted my photo, I just went ahead and took all of those other patterns, the floral and then the other green geometric or circle piece of pattern paper. I just used those in the 6x6 size that they were and just sort of layered those up. And those are going to act as all the other pattern paper that is kind of on the sketch. I kept to the sketch somewhat. I'm definitely not using the two photos, but I am using the two tags and just a whole bunch of layers of paper. Now that I've got everything in place, it is time to go ahead and take all of those fussy cut pieces and few little embellishment pieces that I pulled from my stash and go ahead and create my embellishment clusters. I am going to only have 2 embellishment clusters on this page, and they're going to go on the diagonal like you see me creating here. So I'm just taking the florals, and the tags are acting as my bases for my embellishment clusters for the most part. And then I'm kind of just layering everything up, going from biggest to smallest through my embellishment clusters until they feel finished and sort of full and complete. I will come in at the end with some sequins just to finish out the entire layout, but this is pretty much how the embellishment clusters are going to go. And once I have that in place, I will glue everything down off camera, as you see here. I did go ahead and lift that entire piece up on some dimensional adhesive so that it kind of lifts off the page a little bit. And then I pulled this tiny alpha to complete my title, which is just going to be Let's Go Explore, because that's basically what we were doing this day. And I'm going to just fuss with these little tile letters here for just a second. And once I get those in place, I am going to bring out those vintage dowry Spiegelmom scrap sequins that you see there off to the side. And I'm just going to use a couple of those and dot them around in my 2 embellishment clusters, and that is pretty much going to complete this layout. I will have in the description box everyone who is playing along, maybe not every day, but on some of the days, so you can always hop along and see who else is playing with today's sketch. I will also have the Facebook group that Christy set up as well in the description box, so the still photos are coming up. And with that, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Here are those still photos, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.